Aisha was never loud. She never fought for attention, never interrupted meetings, never laughed the loudest in the room. She believed good work spoke for itself. For 3 years, she stayed late, fixed mistakes that weren't hers, and delivered projects on time. Quietly. But silence has a price. On a rainy Monday morning, the entire team was called into the conference room. The air felt heavy, like something bad was about to happen. Aisha sat at the corner of the table, notebook open, pen still. Her manager, Mr. Khalid, cleared his throat. "The client is unhappy," he said. "This project failure has cost us our reputation." Everyone knew the truth. The delay came from wrong data, approved by Khalid himself. But eyes slowly turned toward Aisha. Khalid continued, calm and confident. Aisha was responsible for execution. She failed to communicate risks. A pause. No one defended her. Some avoided eye contact. Some nodded. One colleague even sighed, as if relieved it wasn't them. Aisha felt her chest tighten. Her mind screamed 100 explanations. She had proof, emails, messages, timelines. But her lips didn't move. Khalid looked at her. "Do you have anything to say?" The room waited. This was the moment everyone expected drama. Tears, anger, begging. Instead, Aisha closed her notebook slowly and said just one word. "No." The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Khalid frowned. "Fine, HR will handle the rest." By evening, her access was removed, her name erased from the project folder like she never existed. As she walked out of the building, rain soaking her clothes, she heard laughter behind her. Two coworkers joking about how quiet girls never survive corporate pressure. She didn't turn back. That night, Aisha sat alone in her small apartment. No tears, no calls, no complaints. She opened her laptop, not to update her resume, not to message anyone. She opened a blank document and wrote a title. Everything they never noticed. She began documenting every system flaw, every shortcut Khalid took, every idea she gave that he stole. Dates, proof, results. This wasn't anger. This was preparation. Days turned into weeks. Her phone stayed silent. No apology, no explanation. But something else started happening. She began rebuilding herself, quietly. She enrolled in advanced courses, learned skills her company never allowed her to explore, improved her work beyond what that office could ever handle. At night, while the city slept, Aisha worked. Not for revenge, for replacement. She started sharing her work online, anonymously at first. Clean designs, smart solutions, no face, no name. People noticed. One post went viral, then another. Comments poured in. "Whoever made this understands the problem deeply." "This is better than what top firms deliver." Aisha watched silently. One evening, she received an email from an unknown address. "We've been following your work. Can we talk?" She stared at the screen. For the first time since that meeting room, she smiled. They thought her silence meant she lost. They didn't know. She was just getting started. Aisha didn't reply to the email immediately. She read it again and again. "We've been following your work. Can we talk?" No company name, no logo, no explanation of how they found her. Anyone else might have replied within seconds. But Aisha had learned something important in silence. Power moves slowly. She closed the laptop and made tea. Only after calming her thoughts did she respond. One simple sentence. "Tell me what you want to talk about." The reply came faster than expected. "Your problem-solving approach, your understanding of systems, and the fact that you never seek attention." That line made her pause. They knew her better than her own company ever did. The call was scheduled for the next evening. When the video call connected, Aisha didn't see one person. She saw three. Two men and one woman. Calm faces, professional tone. The woman spoke first. "I'm Sarah. We run a global consulting firm, remote first." Aisha listened, didn't interrupt. "We don't usually reach out like this," Sarah continued. "But your work, it's rare." They showed her screen recordings, her anonymous posts, her designs, her system breakdowns. "We tested them," one of the men added. "They worked." Aisha felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest. Validation, not praise, not sympathy, respect. "We want to offer you a position," Sarah said. Senior strategy consultant, full autonomy, triple your last salary. Silence. Not shock, not excitement. Aisha asked one question. Why me? Sarah smiled softly. Because when others complain, you improve. The offer letter arrived an hour later. Aisha didn't celebrate. She slept. The next morning, she woke up early, opened her old company's website, and looked at the project she was blamed for. Still failing, still broken, still using her ideas. Incorrectly. She closed the tab. That chapter was done. 3 months later. Aisha worked from home now. No office politics, no forced smiles, no credit thieves. Her work traveled across countries while she stayed silent. Her name slowly gained weight. Not loud, not flashy, heavy. Meanwhile, inside her old company, things were falling apart. Clients complained, deadlines missed, employees blamed each other, and Khalid? He blamed the easiest target. She left gaps in the system, he told upper management. We're paying the price now. No one questioned him until a new client meeting was scheduled. A big one. Aisha's new firm was invited as external consultants. Khalid didn't know that yet. When the meeting day arrived, Khalid walked into the conference room confidently until he saw her. Aisha, calm, professional, unbothered, not in the corner, at the head of the table. Their eyes met. For the first time, Khalid looked uncertain. Aisha? He asked, forcing a smile. You're here? She nodded politely. Yes, I'm leading this review. The room went quiet. She didn't accuse him, didn't expose him. She simply presented facts, data, timelines, system flaws, all traced back to management decisions. Khalid shifted in his seat. Sweat formed on his forehead. As the meeting ended, the client spoke clearly. We'll continue, but only if this team follows her recommendations. Aisha closed her laptop, still silent, still calm. As she stood up to leave, Khalid finally spoke. Aisha, we need to talk. She looked at him. No, she said gently, and walked out. They thought silence meant submission. They were wrong. Silence was her strategy. After that meeting, Khalid couldn't sleep. Aisha's calm face replayed in his mind over and over. Not angry, not emotional, just controlled. It terrified him more than shouting ever could. The next morning, Khalid arrived early at the office. For the first time in years, he opened old project files himself instead of delegating. And that's when he noticed it. The system wasn't broken randomly. It was broken exactly where he had ignored warnings. Emails surfaced, messages he never replied to. Documents marked risk high, sent by Aisha. His stomach tightened. He quickly closed the files as if closing them could erase the truth. Instead of fixing the problem, Khalid did what he always did. He controlled the narrative. In the management meeting, he spoke first. Aisha is smart, he said carefully. But she lacks loyalty. She's using insider knowledge to harm us. Some heads nodded. Fear spreads faster than facts. A formal internal inquiry was launched, not into the system failure, but into Aisha's actions. No one informed her directly. She found out through a forwarded email from a junior employee, someone she once helped stay late to finish work. Aisha read the mail silently. Accusations, words like conflict of interest and data misuse. She didn't panic. She didn't call a lawyer. She didn't respond. She forwarded the email to Sarah. Sarah replied within minutes. Do nothing. Let them talk. Days later, the client requested a full audit, not just of systems, of leadership decisions. This time, the audit would be public. Khalid tried to stop it. He called favors, delayed approvals, blamed technical teams. But the damage was spreading. One senior manager resigned quietly. Another took sudden leave. The building felt different. Whispers in hallways, eyes watching screens instead of people. Aisha continued her work remotely. Calm, focused, invisible, yet everywhere. Her recommendations were implemented by the client, and results appeared within weeks. Revenue stabilized. Complaints dropped. Efficiency improved. The client sent one clear message to Khalid's company. We trust her. If you don't, we'll reconsider our partnership. That line shook the board. For the first time, Khalid was questioned. Not accused, questioned. He smiled, deflected, blamed circumstances. But the room wasn't convinced. That evening, Aisha received another message. from someone unexpected, Nita, her old teammate. I don't know how to say this, but they're scared. Aisha replied with just one word. Good? Nita continued. Khalid is deleting files. He's trying to clean his tracks. Aisha closed her eyes for a moment, then opened a folder on her desktop, labeled Archive. Inside were backups, emails, approvals, meeting recordings, timestamps. Not stolen, not hacked, saved during her employment. Perfectly legal, perfectly quiet. She forwarded the folder to Sarah. Sarah's response was short. It's time. The audit day arrived. Executives gathered, legal teams present, external consultants watching. Khalid sat stiff, hands folded, confident on the outside, cracking inside. Aisha joined remotely, no camera, only voice, clear, calm. She didn't accuse Khalid. She walked them through decisions. What was suggested, what was approved, what was ignored. Each step supported by records. Silence filled the room, not awkward, but heavy. Then a board member asked, Who approved these changes? A pause. Khalid swallowed. Before he could speak, Aisha said, I can play the recording. Khalid looked up, eyes wide. Silence had waited long enough. The room froze. No one spoke. No one moved. Only the soft hum of the air conditioner filled the silence. Khalid's fingers tightened around the edge of the table. A recording? One board member asked. Aisha's voice came through the speaker, calm, steady. Yes, from a project review meeting, dated 6 months ago. Khalid forced a small laugh. This is absurd. Meetings are confidential. Aisha replied softly. So are approvals. Without waiting, she played the audio. Khalid's voice filled the room. Ignore the warning. The client won't notice. We'll fix it later. A pause. Then another voice. Aisha's. Sir, if this fails, execution will be blamed on me. Khalid laughed in the recording. That's how hierarchy works. The audio stopped. Silence returned, heavier than before. No accusations were needed. No emotions were shown. Facts had spoken. A board member leaned forward. Mr. Khalid, is this your voice? Khalid's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Yes, he said finally, but taken out of context. Aisha responded immediately. Would you like the context? Another click. Emails appeared on the shared screen. Subject lines, timestamps, approvals, one by one, each carrying Khalid's signature. The board didn't interrupt. They watched. Khalid's face drained of color. For years, he controlled rooms with confidence. Now, the room controlled him. The audit was paused, not ended, paused. Khalid was asked to step out. As he stood, his chair scraped loudly against the floor, a sound that felt too human for someone who always appeared untouchable. Outside the room, he leaned against the wall, breathing hard. For the first time, silence wasn't protecting him. It was closing in. Later that evening, Aisha ended the call. Sarah messaged her. You handled that perfectly. Aisha replied, I didn't do anything. And it was true. She hadn't attacked. She hadn't shouted. She hadn't demanded justice. She had simply stopped hiding truth. Inside the company, panic spread. HR called emergency meetings. Legal reviewed contracts. Managers whispered in corners. Employees who once laughed at Aisha's silence now avoided saying her name. They remembered. The late nights she stayed, the warnings she gave, the calm way she accepted blame. Too calm. Khalid returned home late. His wife noticed immediately. You're pale, she said. He nodded. They're turning on me. She didn't ask who. She already knew. That night, Khalid sent Aisha a message. The first message he ever sent her directly. Let's talk. We can fix this. Aisha read it. Didn't reply. She placed her phone face down and slept peacefully. The next morning, news broke internally. Khalid was placed on temporary leave. Not fired, yet. But power had shifted. The board scheduled a final review, one that would determine leadership restructuring. Aisha was asked to attend. In person. She arrived at the building she once left in silence. Same walls, same desks, different air. People looked up as she walked past. Some with guilt, some with fear, some with respect. She didn't look at them. She walked straight into the boardroom, took her seat, not at the corner, at the center, the chair Khalid once owned. Outside the room, Khalid waited. For permission, for mercy, for silence. Inside, Aisha opened her folder. One final document remained. Not evidence, a decision. The boardroom was quiet. Not the awkward kind of quiet, the kind where decisions are about to change lives. Aisha sat straight, hands folded, eyes calm. Across the table were people who once never noticed her. Now, every one of them was listening. The chairman spoke first. "We've reviewed the audit, the recordings, and the results after your intervention," he said. "There's no doubt the failures were caused by leadership decisions." No one said Khalid's name. They didn't need to. "We need to decide how to move forward," the chairman continued. "And we'd like your recommendation." Aisha felt something shift inside her. This was it. Not justice. Control. She could end Khalid's career with one sentence. She could demand termination, public exposure, an example. Everyone expected it. She could see it in their eyes. Aisha took a breath. "When I joined this company," she began, "I believed systems fail because of mistakes." She paused. "I was wrong. Systems fail because people protect themselves instead of the truth." No anger in her voice, just clarity. She continued, "I don't recommend revenge, I recommend removal." The board leaned in. Remove fear-based leadership, remove credit theft, remove silence created by intimidation. A pause. "As for Mr. Khalid," she said slowly, "I don't want to decide his punishment." The room reacted instantly. Whispers, raised eyebrows. Aisha looked directly at the chairman. "I want to decide the future." Silence followed. Heavy, respectful. The chairman nodded slowly. "Then tell us what you want." Aisha opened the final document. "I propose a restructuring, transparent approvals, shared accountability, and an independent review system, one that protects employees who speak up." She slid the document forward. "And I want no managerial role here." That shocked them. "I don't want power over people," she added. "I want power over outcomes." The board exchanged looks. Finally, the chairman spoke. "We accept." Outside the boardroom, Khalid stood as Aisha walked out. He looked smaller now, older. "Aisha," he said quietly, "I never thought—" She stopped, looked at him. "I know," she said calmly. That was all. No lecture, no anger, no forgiveness speech. She walked past him. For the first time, Khalid understood something too late. Her silence was never weakness. It was discipline. 2 weeks later, the decision became official. Khalid resigned. No scandal, no headlines, just a quiet exit. The same way Aisha once left. Months passed. Aisha's consulting work expanded globally. Companies trusted her because she didn't seek credit, only results. She hired quietly, led invisibly, changed cultures without noise. One evening, she received a message from Nita. "You changed everything here." Aisha replied, "No, I just stopped letting silence be used against me." She closed her laptop and looked out the window. The city buzzed loudly. She didn't need to. Some people shout to be heard. Some fight to win. Aisha chose neither. She chose to rise and let silence finish the story. Success didn't change Aisha. It removed noise from her life. Her days were quiet now. Strategy calls, written recommendations, decisions that shaped companies she never visited. No office politics, no credit fights, no forced smiles. Yet her name traveled faster than she ever did. People spoke about her in rooms she wasn't in. She fixes what others hide. She doesn't talk much, but when she does, things move. One afternoon, an invitation arrived. Her old company was hosting an internal leadership reform session inspired by the restructuring she designed. They wanted her to speak, not as an employee, as an example. Aisha stared at the email for a long time, not because she was nervous, because she was done needing validation. She accepted. The auditorium was full. Familiar faces sat in rows, some who once ignored her, some who silently watched her fall, some who laughed when she didn't defend herself. Whispers spread as she walked in. She looks the same. No, she looks lighter. Aisha stood at the podium. No dramatic entrance, no powerful music, just presence. I won't talk about failure, she began. I won't talk about revenge. People leaned forward. I'll talk about silence. She paused. In this company, silence was misunderstood. It was taken as agreement, as weakness, as permission. Eyes dropped. She continued. Some people are silent because they are afraid. Others are silent because they are observing. She looked around the room. I was the second kind. The room stayed quiet. Not uncomfortable, respectful. I documented, I learned, I prepared, she said calmly. Not to destroy anyone, but to make sure I was never powerless again. No names were mentioned. None were needed. I didn't win because I spoke louder, she concluded. I won because I spoke last. Applause followed. Not loud, sincere. After the session, people approached her. Apologies came. Awkward, delayed, unnecessary. I should have spoken up. I didn't know the full story. We failed you. Aisha listened, nodded, but didn't collect apologies like trophies. She had moved beyond that stage. Later that evening, she received a message from an unknown number. This is Khalid. She didn't reply immediately. Minutes later, another message arrived. I wanted to say, I understand now. Aisha typed slowly. Understanding late doesn't change the past, but it can change who you become. She sent it. No anger, no satisfaction, just closure. That night, Aisha sat by her window, city lights blinking like distant thoughts. She remembered the girl who sat in the corner of meeting rooms, who carried proof but not courage, who thought silence meant safety. She smiled softly. Silence wasn't safety. Preparation was. Somewhere inside her old company, things were different now. Managers asked before deciding. Employees documented instead of absorbing blame. Silence was questioned, not exploited. Aisha didn't stay to watch. She had built something better. Her phone buzzed again. Sarah. Ready for the next chapter? Aisha closed her laptop. Stood up. Yes, she replied. Because the strongest revenge isn't being seen. It's becoming untouchable. Aisha never went back to that building again. She didn't need to. The place had already learned her lesson, quietly. Months passed. Her work reached places her voice never did. Companies trusted her not because she demanded authority, but because she removed chaos. She didn't promise miracles. She delivered clarity. One morning, while reviewing a proposal, she paused. The document carried a familiar pattern. A young consultant had written it. Thoughtful, cautious, detailed, the kind of work that often goes unnoticed. Aisha smiled. She approved it immediately and added a note. Your silence is not a weakness. Just make sure you're preparing while you stay quiet. Later that year, Aisha was invited to speak at a global forum. Not as a keynote speaker, as a case study. The topic was simple. When quiet people change systems. She stood on stage under soft lights, looking out at a crowd of strangers. People who didn't know her past, only her impact. She didn't tell her story. She told them a truth. Most people think revenge is loud, she said. Arguments, exposures, public wins. She paused. But real revenge is replacement. The audience leaned in. When you don't fight for space, she continued, you build something so strong that space comes to you. No applause yet. She finished with one final line. Silence is dangerous only when it's empty. Fill it with skill, proof, and patience, and it becomes power. The room erupted. Back home that night, Aisha opened an old folder on her laptop, labeled Before. Inside were rejection emails, meeting notes where her ideas were ignored, that final HR message. She didn't feel pain. She felt distance, like looking at a different person. She deleted the folder, not to forget, to move on. Somewhere else in the city, Khalid worked a smaller job now. No big meetings, no titles, just tasks. One evening, a junior employee asked him for advice. Khalid hesitated, then spoke honestly. Listen more than you speak, he said. And when someone is quiet, don't assume they're weak. It was the only lesson he had left to give. Aisha's phone buzzed again. A message from Nita. There's a new girl here. Quiet, brilliant, they don't see her yet. Aisha replied instantly. They will, or she'll outgrow them. As the night settled, Aisha stood by her window one last time. The city was loud. She wasn't. And she didn't need to be. Because the strongest people don't announce their revenge. They become unreplaceable and let time do the rest.